I'll try to keep this pretty fast-paced and entertaining and interesting for you. Some of these case studies, you probably noticed they're talking about how awesome Creator is, which it is. You probably already know that because you're here right now. So I'll keep that part brief, and then I'm going to talk about some of the apps that we've built for the company I work for, and some of the tips and tricks that I wish I would have known when I was just starting out that would have saved me a lot of time down the road. So, my name's Ian Melchior. I work for a company in Denver. It's called EcoMark Solar, and we do residential solar installations. That's me. That's top email addresses for me at work. The bottom email address is for me for stuff that doesn't have to do with solar panels. So we've been using various Zoho products for about probably about 5 years. We started out just doing marketing for other companies. So some of the big companies you probably know, like SolarCity, Sunrun, we would do their lead generation and marketing for them. So at that time, we're using the really basic functionality of Zoho CRM, just to put in some leads and then send some emails off to the people paying us to generate those leads. We figured, and then we also worked for some local Colorado companies. You've probably never heard of them because you're not from Colorado. Also because they went out of business after we stopped working for them. I'm not saying it was because we stopped working for them, I'm just saying. So then later on, we would pass these leads on to these big solar companies. They would have their sales team go out and sell them. And so we figured, well, we could probably do the sales too. So we started using more of the features of CRM. Then we started doing, we would have someone else design the systems, then we would go sell them. We figured, well, we could probably do the design. We started working with some finance companies. We started doing the installations, which we used to also subcontract out. The point of all this is, starting out from the really basic Zoho functionality to what we're doing now, we started to plug in a lot of Creator applications to do different business. So now, in every single one of these processes, from marketing, sales, design, communicating with the finance company, we use Creator apps in some way for every single one of these processes. So if we're already doing that, why don't we do some warranty claims and service calls, which we now do. Same thing, we use Creator apps. What if someone needs a roof? Now we do roofing. We use Creator apps to track that. Based on that, we'll probably be mining silicon and manufacturing panels soon. And then shortly we'll have used up all the sunlight here, so we'll probably be sending people to space, to other stars to get their sunlight. And so the idea is a space colony. It's going to be governed by a benevolent communist theocracy, and it's going to be run through Creator apps is the vision for next 5 to 10 years. Yeah, so the point, there's a lot of different use cases across different businesses and even within one business. CRM does a lot, but then Creator can be used to augment that substantially. Like I said, we started with CRM, and we augment that considerably with Creator. Here's some different things that we use it for. Enforcing standard operating procedures with an unwavering iron fist. Transmuting colleagues' kind of half-formed ideas. Us in the IT department, we take things that people want to do, and we give them the tools to actually manifest those in the real world. And then we have something called the Mandatory Fund Committee, which makes people communicate with each other and engage at the company. So we use a lot of Creator apps to organize those tools as well. So standard operating procedures, that's when you have a bunch of people on a team. So we have a bunch of sales reps, a bunch of installers and different installation teams, site auditors, designers. And previously, just using CRM, we would tell them, when after your sales appointment, update these 6 fields and don't forget, and of course they would, do 1 through 5 most of the time and forget 1. So using Creator, for example, we'll have a form. The form has, copies of all these different fields in CRM that you need to have the employee update. And then those fields are mandatory. So you can, if you have all these different people who right now might be doing things in different ways, using Creator forms, you can enforce them, kind of make them do things from start to finish the way that you want them, and then you have standardization across the board. What else? So through those same forms, for example, that post-sales form, we'll have it update the CRM record. It'll also create a follow-up task to make sure that we're following up with all the customers, and it'll send notifications to the appropriate person. So after a sales appointment, sales rep's setting a task for himself to call back in a week. The fields are empty in this case, so he can put in the appropriate task that he needs to do. But the point is he's got to do that, and the task will be created in CRM automatically for him. There's another creator app called WhatsApp, not to be confused with WhatsApp. This is because we put watts of solar on people's houses. Since then, it's turned out really simple. Now it has evolved and mutated into an unstoppable hydra, and it runs most of our company. No one, including me, really knows how it all works. So that's the power of Creator. Here's a few more app ideas that you might think of implementing in your business. We have a spend request app called Cheese. That's because once you go through this process, you have the ability to go spend some cheddar for the company. We have a vehicle and crew tracker for the installation crews. That's called Traffic. And an inventory management app. I don't have a cool name for that one. If you can think of one, I'm open to suggestions. Quick fun story about inventory management. So, we're buying, in our IT department, we're buying hundreds of dollars worth of computer, or, one employee's got hundreds of dollars worth of computers and phones and different devices to do his job. So we check those out and say, hey, we haven't signed something. This phone costs $200, so just try to get it back to us so we don't have to worry about where that money is going to come from. In most cases, if something gets lost or broken, we're not going to enforce that because things happen on the job, unless it's something really stupid. We wouldn't make an employee cover the cost. So here's a story of something really stupid. So sales rep comes to me or sends me a message. My phone stopped working really suddenly over the weekend. I'm not sure why. Of course, I ask her, did you happen to drop it? Did you get any water on it? No, nothing like that. So I said, bring it in on Monday and I'll take a look at it. Brings the phone in. I open it up, take the battery out, and a bunch of liquid comes out. So I asked her, I asked you if you spilled water on it. Like, why didn't you just tell me? And she says, well, I didn't spill water on it. I spilled beer on it. Yeah. So, some mandatory fund programs that I alluded to earlier. We have a randomized lunch program, we have an app that has all of our employees in it. And so every week, I guess on Monday, I get an email that picks 4 people randomly from different teams who often don't interact with each other. So sales isn't always talking to installation, who aren't always talking to our marketing team, who aren't always talking to our executives. They're in different areas and they're doing different things. So once a week, we just pick 4 of them at random and buy them lunch so that they can go out together, form some relationships, and that helps people stay engaged and send feedback back and forth between these teams. It's been a pretty popular program. We had a field day, so sign-ups and organization. You can build apps like that in Creator for people like a cornhole tournament or beanbags, however you call it. So a couple more ideas for you. A few tips and tricks. I think I have like 7 or 8 minutes, so I'm going to breeze through this. Learn from experience and horrifying mistakes, the consequences of which continue to haunt me to this day. So pay attention. The 4 main points here are you need to talk to your future self because you're not going to remember everything that you are doing now when you're starting out. You need to keep a repository of useful things that you can use again in the future. You can integrate heavily with CRM. I think I made that point. And then strike a balance between planning and building. So talking to your future self, that includes things like documenting what different functions do, adding comments into your code, letting someone else besides yourself know how something works, so that if you get hit by a bus, the company doesn't go under. So for an example, here's another thing. So we have a lot of applications and forms that send out notifications to customers or employees. There have been times that I set something up 3 years ago, and then someone comes to me asking for a change in the email template, and I don't remember where the email is coming from. So about a year and a half ago, we started doing this, which I'd highly recommend, which is you put in the body of the email, at the very bottom, this email was sent from the Existential Threat Tracker app, from the Report Meteor Impact form, and the on-ad script. And then that way, when someone asks you to change what that email says, you know where it came from. Same thing with tasks. I alluded to the fact that you can create tasks in CRM or any kind of record. I'd suggest putting a note in there saying what's creating the task so that you're not spending a lot of time going through everything that you've built, trying to figure out where it came from. Repository of useful things you've created. So I have an app in my Creator account. It's called Miscellaneous Functions, and all it is things that I've built for one app that I know is probably going to come in handy later. So random number generators, which is not, as of now, built into Zoho, but you can do it through some APIs and different things like that. So that's a handy one. The syntax for some functions, it's as simple as it can possibly be, but it can still get a bit complicated. So like searching CRM for records, if you do that once, you might just keep a note of how you did it. Mass updating your CRM data, very useful sometimes, but use it very carefully. I'm happy to share any of these functions with you. They're not that hard or complicated. They're just stuff you don't want to keep writing over and over. And then finally, striking a balance between planning and building. And really it is a balance. I'm not saying spend twice as much time planning as building, and I'm not saying just jump into it and worry about planning later. Sometimes you just have to get started and get some momentum. Other times for a more complicated project, it's good to do a little bit of writing, spend a few hours ahead of time talking to the people who are going to be involved, the people who are going to be using it, find out exactly what people want from the app, and document that before you start building it. I have a document called It's a Scope of Work template, which I did a little presentation on last year. It's available on the web. Ask me where to find it, and you can feel free to use that for your own business to help you plan out how you want to build your creator app, what it's supposed to do, and who's going to be using it. It'll save you a lot of time down the road. Contact info again, and that's the end of the presentation.